Today we're doing some maintenance on a Lennox furnace. I'm going to show you all the tips and tricks throughout it to clean a flame sensor. This will also help you replace one, but regardless, let's jump into it with the tools that you need. The nice part is, at least with this model, you don't need much. You just need a nut driver and a 1/4-inch socket. Now you can also use a ratchet. You may want a deep, and I'll show you some places where that might come in handy. But other than that, that's really all you need, especially for this brand and model. You just need these two things to do this whole job, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's get started. This is something that you want to do yearly, especially after the winter season, or even right before the winter season, just so your furnace is operating without any issue. The flame sensor, which we'll get into a little bit later, is basically a safety device that keeps your furnace running, and usually that's a very common problem why furnaces don't run or they'll have some issues starting up. So if that's your issue, great, we might be able to get that fixed. If not, this is just a good item to know how to do to, again, have some preventative maintenance. So without further ado, let's jump into this. The first thing that we'll want to do is just be safe as we work on the furnace. So I like to do two things. They are a little bit redundant, but what I do is I turn off the thermostat to the furnace, of course, and then I also turn off the power. But honestly, you don't need to do both, and in fact, for this demonstration, we'll just do the power. So what you'll want to look for, right next to your furnace somewhere, there should be a switch. And on this one, I don't think they inserted a switch, so I'll just unplug the power here. And now that there's no power going to the furnace here, we can work on it. Okay, first thing we want to do is remove the cover here that gives us access to the components. So on this one, there's two metal tabs up here. Let's see if I can show you those. So you can see right here, there's one, and then there's one here on the other side, and then this just lifts up. It goes down. A lot of furnaces are similar to that in some way. There's maybe knobs or screws that you have to take off, and then you can lift up the top portion. And then there also is a bottom portion, which you can just lift up and take out. So that's that. So that gives you access to everything inside the furnace. What we're going to be looking for here is specifically the burners, because obviously the flame sensor senses flames, so we're looking for the actual burners. This right here, this pipe, is a gas line, so obviously gas would help the burners, so we just want to follow this gas line here, goes into this regulator, and then you can see it goes up in here, so burners are likely going to be in here, since we just follow that gas line to see where it goes, and it goes up here. So let's get to there and unscrew those things. Alright, so the burners are likely behind this cover plate here, so what we'll want to do is remove each of these 1/4-inch screws. That's the nice thing about HVAC. A lot of the screws are similar size, mostly 1/4 or 5/16. So as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, and then 4 that we'll need to take out. So you can just pull this plate off here, and that's exactly what we're looking for. If you can't get anything else from this video, just know that that's what the burners look like. Get you a better close-up here in a second. But basically, we're looking for that. Sometimes the burners are hidden behind a little sea glass like that in the plate. So again, look for the gas line, see where it leads into, and then you are likely going to find those burners. So we can find the flame sensor, which is just in front of one of those burners. So again, here's a close-up. That's what we're looking for, those burners. And then as you can see there on the left side, the little metal sticking up there, that is the flame sensor. So again, it's a safety precaution to provide feedback to the control board, letting it know if a flame is being detected. So what we're going to do is remove that from this board here and then clean it. You might get confused and see something else over there. And you might say, well, maybe there's two flame sensors. That is actually a hot surface igniter. So essentially what that does is that actually helps the ignition process. So that does not need to be cleaned. Sometimes that does need to get replaced because it is very fragile and can break. But the way you'll know whether it's a flame sensor or something else is the number of wires and what it looks like. So that one, because it goes all the way up and down like you can see there, and it only has one wire going to it. That is the flame sensor, and that is the hot surface igniter over there. All right, so now we're underneath the burners here. So we're gonna wanna take that flame sensor out. So going underneath the box here, the manifold, you can see, let's see if I can show you through there. That is what we wanna loosen. So that's the bottom of the flame sensor, and there's that one bolt that we need to take out. The first thing we'll wanna do before we do that is see this wire that goes up to it. We'll just wanna take that out. There we go. Finally got that sucker off. And now we just want to take off the bolt that's in there. Okay, so again, we've gotten the flame sensor wire off here. So to actually get the flame sensor, there's a screw under here, but it's a pain in the butt because you can get in there with a deep 1/4 inch socket, but you know, sometimes you don't have one, or you know, just if you want easy access guaranteed, let's just take off these hose clamps that holds this T on to the blower motor and the intake and whatnot. And there's 3, as you can see. I've gotten 2 off. All right, and then there's one more under here. Okay, got that 3rd one off. Now honestly, this just pulls right off. Okay, and honestly, you don't need to take it all the way off, but you know, for the sake of access, I'm gonna take it off because it's a pain in the butt. It's nice that it's pliable like this. And there you go. Now you got this T out of the way. We can finally unscrew underneath to get the bolt out for the flame sensor. And before you take the flame sensor out, this intake for the blower motor is just asking to have a screw fall in it. So what you can do is, if it's not too much of a hassle, you can just kind of throw the boot kind of back on here if you want, or get a plastic bag with a zip tie and then just put it over this so that as you're unscrewing that, nothing's going to fall into there, because there's nothing worse than having to make a job longer. All right, so here's the upper view as I take it off, just so you can kind of see. And there we go. That is the flame sensor. So now we can clean this off and then reinstall. All right, so here is our flame sensor. Now, what we want to do is clean off the sensor. And as you can see, there's a little bit of smut on there. So you can use a quadruple knot steel wool, so that's 4 zeros. Just basically you want something that's somewhat abrasive, but not too abrasive. You're not sanding this down, you're just trying to clean off the grit. And I found that one of the most convenient things is an old bill. So this one's all kind of crinkly, and I just go back and forth until I kind of feel those rough edges dissipate. So honestly, I don't feel anything now. And it might not look too much different, but now when I rub the bill across it, I don't feel a single hill or crunchy. So that's that. And again, the whole purpose of the flame sensor is a safety feature. It detects the flame and provides current to the control board here through the spade bit on the bottom, and that keeps the process going. If it doesn't detect that flame, the furnace will then shut off. So if your furnace is shutting off, this is definitely something you want to look into because it's a free fix. Also, cleaning it yearly helps increase the longevity of its life. You can have a HVAC crew come out to do this, but they'll probably charge you their normal maintenance fee, which can be anywhere from like 80 bucks, almost 150. Again, just for a couple of screws that you're taking out and cleaning this off. Now, of course, yes, they have the experience, but if you're in a pinch, you can, I promise you, do this yourself. So, now that we have that, we've removed the grit on this flame sensor, let's go back and reinstall it. so we got the flame sensor in. As you can see, it's pretty easy to put back in. There's obviously only one screw hole, so you just gotta put it in there straight, and obviously it's kind of straightforward from there. Next thing we'll want to do, if you did take off the the T here, excuse me, we'll just want to put that on. So I put the clamps back on, loosen them up, and then I'll just kind of weave this through here, and I'll get it on this one here first. Okay, we got this branch of the T in, and we'll roll it onto the other side. Put your hand around just to make sure it fully is around the pipe there. And then what I'm gonna do is get this out of the way. Make sure this is seated all the way down and around. Perfect. You don't need to go crazy on these. I mean, you can just make sure they're tight enough that they don't move. And then I'll get the last one over here. Perfect, that's around all three. None of them are moving. So now let's finalize this here by putting in the connector for the sensor. So I'm gonna grab that here. You could have done that before all this, but I just figured it'd be nice to have everything out of the way. Now I will make one more mention before I do it. Sometimes these connectors, I'll try and zoom in here, can get loose. So let's say you go to put this back on and it just falls off. It's not actually just staying on there. What you can do, put it on the connector and then use your needle nose to cinch it down a little bit, and that can help it make a solid connection. Boom. That's on. Alright, so now we're about to finish this up here. So what I'll do, actually I'll show you one more helpful tip. So obviously you can find the make pretty easily. The model, if you just look for a sticker either on the side of the furnace or inside in this case, you can see right there, it gives you the model number. So then you can find any replacement parts that you need. But anyway, let's finalize this by just putting on the cover. Make sure nothing gets pinched. And I'll put this on. Should seat nicely. Get that ground in. Let's finalize this by putting on the doors and test our work. And now it looks like everything's working great. So if you learned anything, please feel free to give this video a like and also share any questions or comments that you have below. If you have any tips or tricks, please also feel free to share those just to help this community grow and learn some skills. Appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.